So, right, I didn't connect properly. There we go. Right, okay, fantastic. There we go. So, we're lucky enough to have a presentation this morning from Jill Swyers on chlorophyll in our food, I believe. So, take it away, Jill.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here, even if you ended up here by mistake. There's the good side and the not so good side, but through every opportunity, there's always something. Can't remember the expression, but I know it well. Anyway, I've been vegan. I started changing my lifestyle well over 30 years ago now, and then gradually became vegan. And then eventually I went to Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida, which did plant-based raw foods and some cooked. And I trained there. I went as a paying guest, then I trained there. And then I've been teaching and working there on and off for the last 25 years. And, or no, the last 2 years I haven't been. And don't know when I'll next go. But it's helped me a lot working with so many health challenges, serious or not, and seeing people transform. But at least they were getting balanced advice. It's when they get home, even I got back and thought, oh, it's easier my way. Well, it's not. It was just I had to accept that I had to make a few changes. And I thought when I got there originally, I was totally well. And every year it gets easier and easier. I mean, years ago, I lived with, I always said, well, this is normal. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, lumps and bumps in the breasts and lymph. It's gone. But I've had a few things that, but in the end, I had decided I'm going to lose weight once and for all. I've always been overweight, then I'd lose it, then I'd come back. And now I'm on a lifestyle that I'm balanced. So that doesn't really change, thank goodness. But I decided through that, and I still wasn't getting advice, I was giving up things, but not replacing. And when we, no food is fattening. I know you won't all agree with me, but it's not. It's how you food combine. Now, I'm not saying just go and live on bread, because that's not the way. The liver will say, no, thank you, it's too much. But it's when you do give up your proteins or give up various things when we're non-vegan, you do have to replace it. And of course, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. But never mind, once I got to Hippocrates Health Institute, I changed. Prior to all that, I was in the catering business for 25 years in different jobs. It got me around the world. I had a business here, catering. Then we had to move premises, or rather the premises rent went up so much, they couldn't believe we moved. And in fact, I decided that I was going to sell the business and go off to Portugal, where we were already doing public corporate events there. So I went there, and then gradually I noticed I was still as exhausted and that it was time to do something. Then I got into the plant-based foods through Hippocrates. And originally Hippocrates was for cancer, started by a woman called Anne Wigmore. And then gradually through all the blood tests, they realized how many other health challenges were improving. And so anyway, got into that. But a lot of it, what worries me with people who are going vegan, as you know my expression, just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. But the thing is, I'm so glad that I was introduced to the chlorophyll side, or a balance. I'm not saying everyone has to do exactly what I do, but I'm more concerned that we bring in the rainbow choice of vegetables and bringing in a lot of greens. And for me at the beginning, I had to work with wheatgrass. I happen to have some, but no, I don't have it here every day. But that's very green, and that couldn't be higher chlorophyll than you want. The flavor is a matter of taste, but then to me, it's your medicine, okay? And I know that when I'm drinking that regularly, there's a great improvement. I don't always have it regularly, but what I do is have green vegetable juices daily. Freshly made is always best. If you make it for 1, 2, or 3 days, that's up to you. I have people who say, well, that's not healthy, but then they don't do it at all. And also there's green powders. I'm very fussy about which ones, but it's better than not at all. I've even frozen some of the juices so that I've got it at all times. But it makes a big difference to my life. But originally, of course, what we're doing is cleansing and nourishing the body and giving the body a full detoxification, a cleanse all the way through, usually starting at that lazy liver that many of us probably have got, or fatty liver that we may have or may not. I'm not saying we do or don't. I'm just saying various things. I did happen to hear something last night, not about chlorophyll, unfortunately, but I was listening to a talk from Cambridge University. And no, I'm not university level. I can't think what it was called now. I was left it deliberately. Alternative protein, the future of food. Well, that was at the university. I was a bit disappointed because I don't think they're thinking of vegans. And I would love to have interrupted, but I didn't. But it did shock me what they're doing to make future meat tasting meats and things like that. And to me, they're not vegan. But anyway, you've got to be aware of what's out there. And even I have to learn to read more on the label. I get excited and think, whoo, whoo, whoo. And then when I read the label later, I think, oh, I should have read the label first. I love herbs. I'm not a herbalist. I'm very interested in Ayurvedic. I'm not an Ayurvedic practitioner, but a lot of things link up to what we're doing. For example, with herbs, I've got here onion, garlic, ginger, fennel. Those are 4 herbs to start with. Well, most people think of herbs as being the leafy, mint, etc. Well, I overdid it with garlic once, thinking, that's easy. Ooh, did the liver overwork and did the heart have a lot of exercise? But, we learn by mistakes. And drinking too much of something is not always the answer. It's going one step at a time, add it gradually. But chlorophyll is very high in most nutrients. Green, chlorophyll comes from daylight or sunlight, but not too hot. But if you look at everything out in nature, which I love, or if I'm on a bus or anywhere, I'm looking at the trees or the Battersea Park as I went past it the other day, or all the trees are everywhere. It's very high chlorophyll. And if you're walking through it, it can help you with energy. And it makes a difference. Well, it's the same with the foods that we drink or eat. And it's, with the juice, I use that all raw. With some vegetables, I might steam, or I'll eat it raw. But I can make foods that taste cooked that aren't cooked. The crackers and the breads and you name it, and warmed up. But it's really learning to add all these extras to our lifestyle. And so, for example, if you think about things like calcium, magnesium, potassium, etc., that's all in your green stuff. And also they're high in protein. I know when I've had my juices in the day, and usually I drink, I've got today, this is a blended one with some avocado, when I've got avocados, and this is a juice. And I usually have about a litre to a litre and a half a day. I don't then worry about my protein so much, because then I know I've got it. It's called drink slowly, of course. Don't down it all at once. But it is vitally important. At least it's really helped my life. And I know that when I am lazy and don't do it or think, oh, no, then those cravings begin to start, and which is lack of protein or digestible protein, absorbable protein. And yes, I've had the cravings, but usually it's through my experience over the years, it's been the lack of protein. And yes, I like sweet things, don't we all? And people do say to me, oh, yes, but I like sweet. And I go, yes, that's very fashionable. Because everyone thinks they're the only one that has the sweet cravings. And, you know, when I'm at people's houses, you know, and they bring out some delicious stuff from their own country, you know, from all the countries we've got in UK, for example, I love to taste everything, you know, but we can make everything into vegan. It is possible. So it is possible to make things vegan. And also one thing I always say, if you've got non-vegans around, don't tell them something is vegan, because then they either won't eat it or they'll say they're hungry afterwards. So I put things on round and I won't say, and then someone says, oh, I'm full. Or someone once said it was an Italian dish and it was with the pancakes and things, and he'd forgotten, of course, there wouldn't be any meat in it, and it was his favorite dish and he loved it. The other thing is, you know, there's a company that does the fermented cheeses. They do the, oh, my brain's gone. Hold on. And I'm someone who never liked cheese all my life, can you believe? But something called Moose's Favourite, Camembert, and the university said there's no decent fermented cheeses out there yet. So I felt like throwing it in their face. Moose's Favourite, and it's fermented cheese. But if you just put it, it's usually round. It's round. They've got different ones, but I usually occasionally it's a treat. It's not to live on. It's still, to me, is unhealthy because it's sticky. It's tasty, and it's a treat. Cheese originally was always the treat at the end of a dinner, you know, before it became very fashionable. And I would just put that on. I would never tell someone it's definitely vegan, or I'll go to somebody's house and take some cheese, and they just put it on the cheese plate or whatever they're doing, and it's gone before you've had time to turn around. And there's none of those in there that are vegans. You know, so it is possible. And of course, the woman that makes that, she is French herself, so she knows what French cheeses or Swiss cheese or any of them know what they should be like. Okay, okay, that's not chlorophyll, but I'm just making suggestions. But it's adding the greens. I throw greens into everything, and you know, I don't know if you can see back here. Oh, I have to look at myself. Oh, yes. I don't know if you can see. I won't go too close. You know, that's what I bought at the farmer's market. I've got celery, celery. I've got a load of sprouts that I grew, sunflower. The sunflower is here. That's green sunflower, which is complete protein. Okay. You can buy it from Akenbury Sprouts in the UK. Got sprouts in the US. Can't think of any others at the moment, no offense meant. I've been growing mung beans and lentils. They grow very quickly. And but over here I've got celery. I use the greens from the tops of the carrots. I've got various things at the farmers markets, the London farmers markets. I support them, and if it's raining, I'm more chance to go there because I know that a lot of people are not going to turn out in the rain. And the wild, what are they called? My brain's going. Wild Country Organics from Cambridge, and they sell wonderful green leaves, absolutely wonderful, all types. I mean, if I had my choice for a green juice, I would be using cucumber, celery. This is the original. The sunflower greens and pea greens, which I haven't got any today. And they grow to about this high, complete proteins. And but I don't always have that. And actually on my website, if you go onto my website, I've got a few recipes. Gradually I'm adding more. I just never did. I'd rather talk to people first. I've replaced it with all these green leaves. Not so much with spinach because it's high in oxalic acid, but with most green leaves I work with. And I'm still alive all these years later to tell the tale with no health challenges I'm aware of. Apart from, oh yes, I was told after a blood test, last time I was in the States 2 years ago, I was told my heart muscles were very, very strong, which has come from the chlorophyll. My reply was, but that doesn't mean I'm fit. And she goes, wow, you're aware. I said, well, I can be lazy. I do my yoga and qigong and stuff, and I love walking, but I'm not doing enough. So we still have to work, but not overwork with our exercise. But the greens do help give oxygen to the body. You know, even in yoga, if you're doing this or only this, the oxygen is moving around the body. Yoga is not about competition, but it's just moving different parts of the body to get the oxygen through there. And greens are full of oxygen. So I work with a lot of oxygenated foods. And people don't understand it, but you know, greens when we were children, for a lot of us were, I think because of the way they cooked the cabbage at school, and it was so awful, overcooked. If any of you may have been fortunate or not fortunate to have it at school, I can remember that smell even now, walking down the corridors. But you know, it doesn't have to be like that. Vegetables, when steamed and not over steamed, it works well and can be tasty. Or if people tell me before they come to a workshop they don't like this, that, and the other, I will probably use it in everything. If they're allergic or have a health intolerance, that would be different. But when they go, I can't stand this, can't stand that, fine, let's try it in something and see how it goes. And often people have enjoyed that meal. One person couldn't stand, I did something with all the peppers, not green peppers, but red peppers, etc. And she couldn't stand peppers. So I didn't put that into everything. I just put that dish separately so that she wouldn't get confused. Well, guess what was one of her favorite dishes? The peppers. But it's because of the way it was made, I think. And also green peppers can be very difficult on the digestion. And that's why I didn't like the peppers as a child. Bell peppers, I mean, the regular peppers. And but then I realized it was the green pepper I wasn't really enjoying, because ever since I've always loved it. So it's not been a big deal. So it's learning all these different things. Also with chlorophyll, they're saying it can be the equivalent of our blood. With the chlorophyll and the hemoglobin, there is a balance there. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not on that balance there at all. But something I learned, especially with wheatgrass, which is one of the highest forms of chlorophyll. Chlorella, or sun chlorella is my favorite, is one of the, also a very high form of chlorophyll. So I work with a lot of vegetables, green vegetables, and colours, of course. Then I work with wheatgrass, blue-green algae, green algae, which are seaweeds, and I use those a lot. I enjoy seaweeds, and as I said, you know, if someone says I can't stand seaweed, well, we'll turn it into something else. Out comes the dessert, and it's got seaweed in it. But you wouldn't know it because you've got the sweetness. Now, years ago in London, I never went to that restaurant, it's too expensive, but it had, they made ice creams with different things like marmalades, and I can't think what the other thing, garlic, they had garlic ice cream. And apparently it was fantastic. But in those days, I couldn't go there. But as long as something's sweet, it doesn't really matter. In saying that, I'm not saying please add sweet to everything, because desserts are a treat. And when people become vegan, unfortunately, some have come from health and some have come from animal rights. I came from health, Now I'm understanding the rest. And the sooner it stops one day, be nice, that would be better. But I'm glad I came from health because I got more on a balance. And I think I've had a lot of experiences through that. But, you know, as someone said to me who was quite sick with cancer, she wasn't doing well, sadly. And we found out it's because she only lives on raw and vegan desserts. Well, that's sugar, sugar, sugar. So it's feeding the problem. That we need sugar, but it comes from our vegetables. It comes from all our greens. There's a lot of natural sugars in there. So we get more balanced, right? So, sorry, I wasn't watching the time. So please tell me if I'm rabbiting on too long. And if anyone has questions, do ask.
There's a few questions in the chat already, actually, Jill. And so, in terms of time, we've got about 10 minutes till the end of the meeting, so that's fine. Do you want me to just try and track down, because there's quite a lot in the chat, so let me try and see if I can track some down for you. I had a question, actually, which I think you've answered just while I'm looking, which was with your sunflower greens, whether you eat the whole plant. So I've eaten sunflower seeds, but I've not sprouted them and eaten them before, so that sounds interesting.
Okay, there's sunflower seeds and sunflower seeds in shells and sunflower seeds without shells, right? So the green sunflower that I've grown here is with the black shells, with the ones with the shell you can't see really.
Right.
You can't see, but there's a little black shell in my podgy hand. And might be easier to show you. And then you cut them when you're growing the greens. You cut them close to the soil, or I have a machine here that you don't use soil. But the sunflower seeds that we buy in the health food stores, the regular ones, which with those I would soak them overnight, drain them, and then I dry them, or I use them into a smoothie or something. Straight from soaking them, because we soak everything to really release the enzyme inhibitors and the toxins from it, and then it becomes easier on the digestion.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
So oh yes, there's a lot.
I shall give that a try. How long did just before we move on to, because Lena's certainly got a question I just found, but how long did those sunflower sprouts you've got there take to grow to that height?
It varies, but usually 7 days or so.
Okay. Well, that sounds
depends how. If I grow them in this kitchen, I don't keep the heating on in this kitchen. I was thinking earlier, the kitchen's usually the warmest room of the house, but I don't, because I usually have so many vegetables around. But it's usually 5 to 10 days. Okay. But it's practice, and also there's different ways of growing it. So when you start growing the greens, I'll give you a link. I usually tell people to go to gotsprouts.com. They're in the States, but they have some wonderful teaching processes.
Fantastic.
Because we don't follow the book. We learned through someone else, like Gonzi, and then Got Sprouts have a fantastic company, ship all over the States. And not because they're my friends, but the standard is very high. And so they have a lot of teaching on there.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Oh yes.
Yeah. Sorry, Lena. I just wanted to get through other people's questions. Yeah. So Lena said, "I'm thinking of adding daily juice to my diet, but a bit concerned about the time it takes making it. What are your suggestions for that?"
I agree. Freshly made is always best, but you know, you decide when to make it. You know, I made enough for 3 or 4 days. Freshly made, of course, is always best. But I decided to do it my way. And also at Hippocrates, they have about 200, with staff and everything, there's been 200, 250 people there. They're not making it in 15 minutes. You know, trying to tell the guests this, they don't understand. But it takes them a couple, 2 or 3 hours to make it. And then they bring it out, and then they get prepared for the next one. Okay? So it's how, Lena, you can always give me a call, we can discuss it. But
Oh, definitely. I was thinking about that because so I wanted to ask if you're actually making them kind of like leaving them in the fridge for a while. And in fact, I wanted to ask how long you usually leave them for. So how much in advance you can actually prepare for a week.
Well, I've also kept some in my freezer. I mean, I'm not taught this way, but in saying that, when I'm at Hippocrates, and I'm going back to stay with my friends who happen to be got sprouts, but the one thing they like when I come out is I make them juice. But also, if I've been working in Hippocrates and I'm going back home for the night, and there's often juice left over from the guests because they haven't drunk it all, then I take it home and give it to them, and they keep it in the fridge for 2, 3, 4 days. You know, depending how much I'm taking back. But we're all still alive to tell the tale. You know, we haven't decided what's going on my grade yet.
Thanks for that, Jill.
Okay, we'll speak. Sorry I missed Saturday, but anyway. Okay, fennel, gross. Don't eat, drink, or smell it. Okay, Jane, I'm going to make something that I hope you'll love. It's very nutritious, and it's learning to. Most of us didn't like it, and because the flavor is what's the flavor?
Aniseed.
Aniseed. Thank you. I never liked aniseed. I never liked curried foods, for example, until I found they've got so many nutritious dishes which are vegan, and now I like spicy foods. So, but I have to enjoy what I'm eating. I can't just do something because I don't like it. But don't worry, I won't ruin your day just now, Jane. I'm going to think of something when we finally meet. Was there any more? How do I give you?
So Sam was asking what green powders you recommend. Chlorella, spirulina.
Okay, well, I'm a big fan, as people know, of Kiki Health. They have a whole range of things. My favourite chlorella is sun chlorella. I think it's well worth it. But most things I like from Kiki Health in the UK. And they have a juice powder, which is Nature's Living Superfood. And it's probably back to front, but anyway.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, good. I happened to meet the guy that put this together in the States anyway, and his family run the business now, and it's a mixture of everything. We couldn't make it like this. It's got vegetables, grasses, seaweeds, algae, bacterial cultures. It's got everything in there, and it is fantastic. And that is my favorite. And because I know it's not heat treated, it will be freeze dried. And before it came to the country, I knew it and used to bring it back. Then perchance I was at an event and there was Kiki selling it. And I did some work with them later on. And so I've had experience, but that's not, I mean, if I didn't think it was good, I couldn't recommend. I'm known for that. I'm very fussy. I know people put things up from around the world, but if I don't know what things like, I just find I can't recommend. No offense meant to anybody. So
thanks, that's great.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. I think you've probably also answered Jay's question, although Jay, dive in if you disagree. But do you have any handouts to explain green powders and bits? I don't know whether is that what you meant, is in terms of which ones, or did you have something else in mind, Jay?
Sorry, what was that?
Jay said, very helpful and informative. Do you have any handouts to explain green powders and bits to us, please? Or to use, sorry.
I will, I can, I've got, if you go on, I have to think now. I have got plenty. If you get in touch with me, I can send stuff to you.
So right. That's a handout you could be sharing at meetings, Jill.
It's a perfect lead magnet.
I've got one here I was going to show anyway, but it's I've tied it up too much. Never mind. But I have got something I could probably send to people. That's not a problem. If you send me your emails, my email is down here. Also, someone mentioned the Magimix juicer, the Vitamix, I think you mean, or the Magimix juicer.
Vitali.
Juicers. No, I've got the Vitalmax, and the Magimix is the blender, or Magic. Gosh, there's so many names now. Yeah, the Magimix juicer. Just remember, juicers are not as. Don't worry, I blend as well. But remember, the type of juices we use are like the old mincemeat type. So it comes out. Okay, this is the one type. Looks like that, you see. And then if they're twin gears, which I've got as well, they're even better. But I use that one because it's easier to use and easier to clean. And as I say, I'm still alive to tell the tale. But I've got different types. And and I have blended. My favorite corn, beetroot, cucumber, blueberries, carrots. A lot of sugar in there. And she's nodding her head like, oh, quiet. Anyway, I think I've answered if you like adding past such as spirulina. Anyway, I'll look at those questions again. And if you email me, it's my name @gmail.com. And my website is my name. But it's understanding that we need to add, my main thing all the time is in these short talks, is adding vegetables to everything. You know, don't just get a veggie burger that you've bought, and I buy them too, veggie burger. We do need to have vegetables with it. Just because it's got a few vegetables in it, I can guarantee probably there's not very much in there. We need to have foods to help it go down. Okay, it's this liver needs help, and as they said a few weeks ago, each time I hear talks, they keep talking about the lazy liver, the fatty liver, you know, and it's quite fashionable. So, and even on our vegan path, we do go for the comfort tastes, you know. So it's try to add to all that. I'd love to talk to you all day, but I have a feeling we're nearly there.
Well, we've got about a minute or so left before 12 o'clock, but I will just quickly, because Sam asked a not dissimilar question, but Michael's asked a question about other medical professionals recommend blends over juices because of the finer content. Can you explain why you prefer juices?
Okay.
And Sam asked the question, was it juice or blend?
Okay, good question. The reason we started the juicing was because it's easier on the digestion, and most of us do not know, even though people say they know, our digestive is not always at its best. You know, we're busy online as we're trying to eat. We're watching a movie, we're talking 10 to the dozen to everybody. We're not really concentrating on eating. And even when I'm sitting on my own eating with nothing in front of me, my mind is ticking 100 to the dozen, you know. So that is why we juice, but we also blend. They don't do so much at Hippocrates, they do it once a week. But I've started adding that every day to people to have both. We need the fiber and we need to help that digestive system, because often problems start in the gut if one has or hasn't got, and the gut and the digestive. So it's working on both. And I find if I only have blended, I find I need the juice, the two. I find they work for me anyway. But it's go with what you can. But I feel we need both. Okay. And also, just so you know, the food is a small part of the whole circle of helping our wellness. You know, it's not just about food. You know, even what Lena does is fantastic. And I was sorry I couldn't go on Saturday. And but you know, it's doing other things, not just to think, oh, well, I've done the food, I'm fine. If the body needs movement, needs meditation, needs you know, there's so many things that we need. And I always say this food is a small part, and then we've got the whole circle. Even if you're giving yourself treatments or having reflexology or having others, all these help. In the UK, it's always like, oh, you know, it's not part of our life. But many other countries that are less fortunate than us, massage and treatments are very important. I saw it when I was in Korea, and I was amazed. So, but anyway, I'm rabbiting on. I don't know.
Let's do one together.
Yes. Boom.
Yes, collaboration.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes, let's. We're on a similar wavelength, definitely.
So I think we're on top of it with the questions now. Lots of people saying thank you for a great talk as well. I know a couple of people are having to drop off, so I will definitely echo that. Thank you, Jill. Really informative and interesting. Yes, like Sam, I'm now thinking, oh, green juice might be good for the rest of the day.
But if you're not doing the green juices, you know, at least add more greens to your plate. You know, for me, especially through lockdown, our social outing was going to the farmer's market, right? And my bag would be full of greens, and with the celery, which some of you, depending where you live, you would automatically have your celery with all the greens, whereas most stores don't have that.
Yeah, lots of them chop it off, don't they?
I know. Someone said when I bought the carrots the other day, should I chop the tops off? I went, that's the best part. I put those in salads, or I put them in soup. It's all edible. So anyway, I won't rub it on anymore, but thank you very much, everybody. And you can contact me. My details are there, and your emails will be answered.
Thank you very much, Jill.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Thanks,
stop the
everyone.
recording now.